I'd never done pod before, so I mean, my first run at pod, I didn't know what I was doing. I just sat there, I had it in park, had the handbrake on, I was just sat there going, oh, this is nice, wonder what happens now. And by then the light had already changed, and the RS5 that was next to me had already shut off, and I was like, oh look, he's gone, I wonder when it's my turn. And then they were like, no, you should be going. I was like, oh right, okay. So that was 7 seconds start time for my first run. I did get it down because I actually figured it out after that. My name is Andria and I have the Gulf.rocco. I've just always been into cars. I used to collect these little cards with pictures of cars on when I was a kid, and they all had like loads of different kind of supercars, and back then it was the Ferrari F40. I mean, my dad had a Capri. They used, like my mum and dad used to go to car shows before I was born, and I think it must have kind of worn off onto me. Started off with a Mark 1 106, 1 litre. That was my first car. Loved it to bits. I learnt to do just little bits on it, and I enjoyed just doing little bits. And back then, I did the M3 mirrors, Lexus lights. I had the windows blacked out. Then I had the windows, the blacked out taken off when I got stopped by the police. Then I moved on to it was a Smart Roadster coupe. Went like a little rocket off the lights. I think it was 695cc, so it wasn't massive. But anything electric just broke on it. Then I had a sleeker. That was like the kind of the newer shape sleeker. That was lovely. I really always regretted selling that car because it was just such a nice car. I ended up with a Vespa, and then the local kids trashed the Vespa. And I was borrowing my dad's car. It was a Clio, and it was horrible. I hate Clios. I hate Renaults. I hate anything to do with Renault. Then I ended up with a Scenic. Yeah, which was horrific and soul destroying. And then I got this, and it's so much happier, and I love it. I liked Scirocco's. I liked the back end of it because it just had a really fat ass on it. I mean, I could have just got a Golf because it's basically the same thing, but I think they just look nicer. I actually got it off Facebook really randomly. It just popped up on Facebook. This guy was selling it, and it looked exactly what I wanted, because I wanted an R. I didn't want to get anything lower than an R. One of my friends always told me, you buy the best car that you possibly, that kind of best sort of model car that you possibly can for the money that you have. Even if it's older, you just buy the best one you can, and because you'll always regret not getting the top spec. And I've kind of stuck with that. So when I first got it, it had the Miltech full sports car system on. I had the Rammer induction kit. I had the facelift front bumper, and it was mapped to stage 2. I actually had no plans. I didn't think that I was going to go so far with it. I didn't plan on getting it wrapped, didn't plan on doing the doors. I think my first mod on it was putting bonnet struts on. Instead of just like the stick, I just put the gas struts on. I was like, oh, that's nice. And yeah, it just kind of went from there, and I started just doing more and more. It's not stopped. The doors were only done last year. They're an interesting one because the price of them is quite expensive, just as an outlay anyway. Finding someone who's skilled enough to put the doors on, who's not going to wreck the car, and also there's no going back, because either the hinges have to be cut off, the original hinges have to be cut out of the door frame and from the dash, or you take the full dash out, take the hinges out. It's a big job. The arches are cut. The hinges will fight back with the arches, so your arches just get mashed. There's me and there's Jack. We've got the doors. Someone else has just got them. She's yet to experience the full joy of the doors. But both mine and Jack's wings have just got, they're not as nice as they used to be, let's just say that. They're a little bit bent. When the doors are settling, over the first few months, sometimes the door can get stuck underneath the wing. So the door's trying to open, it gets kind of stuck underneath the wing, and it'll open a certain amount, probably 5 degrees, which is not enough to get out. And literally you can't get out. You either climb out the passenger side, or as I was parked against a wall when it happened to me, I climbed out the window, much to my children's delight, and they thought it was hilarious. They loved it. So exterior mods that I've done. So I went to Pro Vinyl in Manchester. They did me the full Gulf livery wrap. They just made it work. We chose a blue together. It took me months to choose the blue, because obviously with the Gulf, the traditional blue is quite a pale blue. But I felt with that being a modern car, a pale blue wouldn't suit it, because it's not a classic car, it's a modern car. Let's go for a more modern feel. So I chose the brighter blue. It's more of a like a Riviera blue. Side skirt extensions on the side skirts. I've got a little bit on the back bumper. I've got a Kershaw carbon splitter on the front. Oh yeah, and I've got the roof scoop, which is a custom roof scoop. I bought that, and then that was made wider because it wasn't quite as wide as I wanted it, because I wanted it to fit in with the orange stripe exactly. So the guys at Fiberworks extended it for me, and they've done me a full custom front bumper as well. The engine, I've not actually touched the engine really. I've put some R8 coils in. Other than that, I've not touched it. It was previous owner who's had worked into the engine, and I'm quite happy with it just staying stage 2. Stage 2 is enough for me. I think sort of a conservative 320 is enough for that car. In the interior, I've just fitted a new stereos that I can do like sort of Apple CarPlay and all those sort of things. I've also got like an audio sponsor, PL Autotech, and he's done a full audio system in it. I've got a sub in the back. I've got a 12-inch sub, but that all works around the boot build because of the air ride that I've got in there as well. I always wanted the tank to be higher up. I wanted to see people to see the tank instead of just the management. So that'll change. But at the minute you can just see the management. It's a daily, surprisingly. Yeah, the car's purpose is a daily. I'll drive the kids around with it. It's funny because some people show cars the trailered in, the pristine. You'll see cars with like completely white interiors. I can't do that. I can't do like a nice Alcantara on the inside, because it'll get Watsits ground into it. It'll get chocolate smeared all over it, and there's always a chewy sweet like a Haribo or something in the carpet, or there's bits of toys left and crumbs. There's always crumbs, So, and I'll clean it up for shows, but it's it's still got to ferry the children around, so I can't have certain nice things in it. That some people have, and it's really fancy things, and I would like it, but it's a daily, so that's what it is. Next thing, the wheels will hopefully arrive at some point. I ordered them in, I think, January, and because of all the coronavirus nonsense, they got stuck in Japan after they were made, and they couldn't get flown over, so they were shipped on a boat. And I actually have no idea where they are currently. So I've got the works wheel, the Meister L1s, 19s with a -25 offset. So I did like the little calculation, and it works out they're going to stick out about 8.5 centimetres more than where the current wheel ends, because the current wheel's tucked anyway. And obviously that's that alone would be probably quite illegal. So I then need to do a wide arch kit for it. I'm getting a custom wide arch kit. I'm basically turning it into a road legal touring car. Okay, so I think the thing that I'm sort of most proud of with doing the car is probably doing some of the custom mods. Like say things like the bonnet and the roof scoop, because no one else has got the roof scoop. And I just hope nobody else copies it. Because there is no going back once you've got the roof scoop on, because it's bonded on. But that and the bonnet, because I'm just pleased that I've got those done and they're mine. I'm going to tell you a sad story about the car, which people might find funny. So I bought it was a second-hand cup spoiler, because I really wanted the cup spoiler for the car. I thought they looked dead nice. I was like, they're really ace. And I had it was really nice. I took it down to Southampton, which is where I got the gold wrap done. And he wrapped it dead nice in the gold, and then he sent it to me, and it arrived in 2 pieces. And it just looked like it'd been trodden on. Yeah, there was no real way of putting it back together again. I was so gutted. By then, I was upgrading to a rear facelift. Oh yeah, that's one of my other exterior mods I forgot to tell you about. So I did a full rear facelift on it. So that's not just lights and bumper, it's tailgate as well. That's not the story though. Back onto the cup spoiler. So then I bought another cup spoiler. Yeah, then I sold that because I needed the money. I just couldn't do a cup spoiler anymore, because the joy of having it is kind of just gone. I've not really found anything difficult with it. Sometimes looking to find decent enough people that will do work. I mean, I try and do as much as I possibly can on the car myself. I do like little things, but there's certain things that I won't touch on the car, because I just think I could try it myself, but I'm not as good as someone who does it for a living. If it was just me in the car, I wouldn't care so much, and I'd give more things a go. But because the kids are in the car, it's like, no, it's got to be safe. I've got to make sure it's right. It took a good few months for me to kind of figure out that I was gonna go down the route of, adding to it, to what was already there. Because in itself, when I bought it, it was actually a really nice car in itself. It was just very OEM plus. But I just wanted to make it more mine. The first big mod that I did was the gold. So I had the idea, I was like, I'm going to do gold. Because I saw a picture of a Lamborghini that had gold on it. And I looked at it, I was like, that looks amazing. I want to do gold. But it was trying to find the way of doing something as elaborate as gold and over the top, but trying to keep it toned down. Currently, I already have a Mark 1 MX-5. It's not a UNOS, it's not an import, unfortunately, as much as I would have liked an import. It's just a 95 plate, but so that car, basically I've bought that to modify and do up and do little bits too, and have that as a little kind of project car for me and my children. And because I want the kids to sort of be able to touch the car and work on a car, and it for not to be the Rocco, because in case they damage it, but it's just something that they can actually mess around with and learn how to do stuff to do with engines. And I don't want them being a grown man and not being able to change a tyre at the side of a road. So eventually, when they get a bit older, because they're only young at the minute, when they're older, and they already know that that's their car for when they're older, they can help me kind of take the engine out, and we'll rebuild it. We'll do all like big works on it, and it'll be a learning process for me as well, because I'm not in I wouldn't know how to do it right now, but I'm going to learn with them, and we're going to do it together, and I want them to enjoy it. I want them to enjoy working on cars, and it'll get the mind working, get them sort of problem solving and being technical about things, and learning how they can get dirty. And since the new wrap on it, it's turned a lot of heads. It really has. I get a lot of people, kind of looking like thumbs up and stuff. I've had people in like really fancy Porsches, letting on, like, oh yes, it's done nice. The majority of people, when they see who's driving it, because they wouldn't expect a girl to be driving it, because it's still, they wouldn't just expect a guy. Being a girl in the car scene, you've got a lot of history. There's a lot of history that's involved with girls and car scenes. Just kind of briefly going back to something like the Max Bauer sort of era, you've got all that where it was all kind of topless pictures, models stood next to cars, and you still get models stood next to cars, but a lot of that's kind of going, like you see in like the F1 and a lot of the actual races, you're not getting the track girls, the pit girls sort of anymore. You didn't really see many girls doing cars up, or if they did, it's because they had a boyfriend and they were either doing it for the boyfriend, or it was like more the boyfriend was doing all the work and they weren't doing anything, or they weren't really, and it was just really, it's a bit cringy. Now you've still, because there is that history has carried on. You do have girls doing their OnlyFans, and that kind of, that's not my thing. And fair play to them if that's what they want to do, but I couldn't do that just because I don't want my children to see pictures when they're in high school. But that I don't know. I mean, it's completely people's choices, and that's up to them. There is a lot of stereotypes to sort of fight off, yeah. Especially on something like Instagram, you see a lot of girls' profiles, and they'll have lots of pictures of them. And lots of pictures of the cars, and sometimes they'll have pictures of them in their underwear, and then it's like, yes, they're taking advantage of the fact that they are female to get more sort of followers for the car, and that can be empowering, that can be seen as being empowering, and they're using that sexualisation in a positive way for themselves, and that is, again, that's completely up to them. I've posted a couple of pictures of me, but generally it's just of me doing stuff for me in my face, or I don't post pictures of myself doing, I'm not going to post pictures of me in my underwear either next to my car or in my room or whatever. I'm sure nobody wants to see that. But it's funny because I'll get a lot of people, like, say I won't post a picture of my face for a while, so anyone that would just sort of see my page, they just think it's a car page, and then I'll get sort of guys messaging me just talking about the car. They don't realise I'm female, and it's nice, and I don't tell them, I won't pull them up and tell them that I'm female. It's nice to have a conversation with someone kind of on the same level, because sometimes I don't feel like if they knew that I was female, I wouldn't get the same level of conversation. So I've taken the car to Santa Pod. I think I only got 106 at Pod, but in my defence, because everyone will be like, oh, but that's an R, it's an actual R. Yeah, for an R, it probably should have gone faster, but I've got a big boot build and I've got a lot of wood in the back of the car, and that just weighs it down. It weighs it down a lot. Hopefully now, if I can get back onto something like a strip again, because I've got a fiberglass bonnet now, that should offset slightly the weight issue. But that would offset overall weight. I don't know how that would handle with the fact that the front of the car would then be a little bit lighter as opposed to the back of the car, because then it would be a bit more back heavy. I'm not quite sure that how sort of aerodynamically and because obviously cars are built to be a certain weight all the way around the car. I don't know how that would work, but maybe I'll go find glass doors as well. That could be fun. Just really strip the weight down. We'll see.